Hello and welcome to this week of live workshops, our Wednesday workshop. If you're just joining, thank you very much for joining us in London. It's lovely and sunny at the moment, so it's quite nice. If you're finishing work, welcome. As ever, if you want to kick back and have a drink, do join us. So I've got a beer, but if you're a champagne drinker, have some champagne, whatever you fancy. We've also got comments live, so if you want to ask any questions during this session, please get involved and ask away, and I will try and answer them to the best of my ability. So today we've got a dry wheat beer from Germany. So we've got this one, and I'm going to pop it in a bamboo cup. So if you've joined other sessions that we've done, we do an introduction to bamboo where we talk about how good it is as a material and all the different uses. So you can catch lots of our other live videos on our channel. And if you enjoy this live, do subscribe, do join. And as I said, do check out any of our other videos on our channel as well. I'll pop that in there. So this live workshop is going to be all about bamboo frames and what elements make up a bamboo frame. We know that we use bamboo obviously for the tubes, for the main tubes, but where we've got really exacting tolerances and where we need to fit parts like your cranks, your forks and all those other parts, we've got some metal inserts that we use. And what the metal inserts do is it allows it to match all the standards laid out by the bicycle industry. So everyone knows that you need certain bearing sizes, you need certain crank sizes and so on. So what we do is we manufacture all our own inserts that fit inside or around the bamboo that make sure that the frame is completely compatible with whatever components you want to buy. And for us as bicycle builders, that's really important, that you can buy a set of wheels or a crank or whatever else you need, and it's going to work on your bamboo frame. Oh, that's a good one. Nice. So what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about are the metal inserts and how they fit into the frame, best practices of how to bond them, and a little bit about what we manufacture and how we manufacture them. So I'm going to start with the head tubes. So we've got two different types of head tubes that we manufacture. We've got what's known as a tapered head tube, which has an integrated bearing fit there. And we have a 44mm, which has an external bearing fitting if you're running a tapered fork. They both will function in the same way. This one will only work with certain forks, and this one will work with every type of fork. So this is the one we ship standard with all of our kits. And just to get a little bit techie, we've got an inside diameter of 44mm and the outside is 47, okay? Just to give you an idea there. With this one, we've got the same internal diameter of 44 at the top, and the bottom is wider at 52. So it will take a 52mm bearing at the bottom. Both work in the same way. So that fits into the head tube, so it fits into the front of the frame, and the bamboo will meet to join it. And the reason why we use a metal insert here is because you're going to have your fork fitting in here, and we need to make sure that the fork can rotate in the frame and that the tolerance is perfect. And some of the issues with bamboo, for using bamboo as a head tube, is that every single piece of bamboo is completely unique. And it's very difficult to guarantee the fit. So for us, we manufacture our own tube. And on that note, I'll talk you through a little bit more about the manufacturing. So if you're just joining us now for our Wednesday workshop, we're talking about all things metal, all the inserts that go into the frame. So I've just started with head tubes. When we manufacture this is made out of aluminium. So we use a stock aluminium tube. We found that the bonding on this is really good. Some people use steel, some people use carbon fiber, some use aluminium. And the key thing with any metal tube, and if you're joining it to bamboo using epoxy resin, the most important aspect is the surface finish, okay? And I've got some examples here. This is a standard chromoly. You can see it's nice and shiny and it's all polished and it's all beautiful. That's what you'd use in a standard steel frame that you can buy online anywhere. And similarly, that's a standard tapered head tube, and you can see again, nice and shiny, smooth surface. So that's what they'd use on any steel or aluminium frame to build. But what we do, and you'll notice some difference there, is that we add a completely different surface finish to the outside of the tube. And the reason why we do that is because we're not welding, we are gluing the tubes together. So we're using a completely different process. And we've looked across all the market and we failed to find the right tubes on the market. All of them were designed around steel or aluminium frames, and it wasn't designed for bamboo or for bonding. So what we've done is we've designed our own and we manufacture our own in the UK. And what you'll notice is this is what's known as a knolled finish. So you end up with a crisscross pattern across the tube, and it gives a very rough finish to the tube. So in a very logical sense, that means that you end up with a rougher surface. So when you bond it to the bamboo, the surface bond is a lot better. And what that does is it gives you a lot better longevity out of the frame, and it gives you a much stronger build, overall build, and a stronger frame. And for us, that's really important, that, you know, a bamboo bike isn't just for kind of quick 5 minutes. We want it to last for years and years and years. And if you have the correct surface preparation on your tube, it's going to bond and glue in a lot better. And theoretically, with a knolled finish over a smooth finish, you're going to get about 75% better bonding properties with the knolled over the smooth finish. Okay, so that just gives you a very brief idea of why we do that. Obviously, it costs us a lot more to manufacture, but it means you end up with a much better bicycle and a much better bond so that it will last. So that's our head tubes, so our 2 standard head tubes. I'll get rid of those for a minute. The other area we've got is the bottom bracket, and that's where your crank and so on rotate around. Pour a little bit more beer into my bamboo mug. And as I said, thanks for joining. If you've got any questions, let me know. I will try my best to answer them. And obviously, if you watch this after this live session, add some comments. I will answer them afterwards. And we'll try and follow up and try our best to answer them. So we manufacture 2 types of bottom brackets. The bottom brackets are where all the bearings for your crank and so on fit into the frame. So again, that tolerance needs to be really good. Across the bike industry, there's lots of different standards of bottom bracket, but there's one standard that's persevered throughout kind of frame design, frame history, and that is known as the threaded bottom bracket. And the beauty of that standard of bottom bracket is that Shimano, SRAM, everyone you can imagine manufacture their group sets to be compatible with that bottom bracket. So it's a really good standard for us to use, and it's also really easy to fit the bearings in using a thread rather than a press fit if you're building at home. So on that note, all of our bottom brackets are threaded, okay? And you'll see the thread inside there. And that means you can take a SRAM bottom bracket, you can take a Shimano, and you can take an old school tapered bottom bracket, and that will all fit in. It took quite a few prototypes for us to get the fit correct. There is weirdly a variation in the thread types across the different brands, but basically, the good part about this is this will just thread straight in. And we've set these threads up so they fit really well. So you can just fit any bottom bracket in. Got the standard old school taper, so that just fits in as well. And I'm just hand tightening that up. So the threads on these, we've kind of done loads of different prototyping, so that we look at every different brand. So we've looked at Shimano, SRAM, Campag, and then old school threaded tapered ones like these, and we've made sure that the thread works really well, so that when you're at home and you want to fit your frame up, every standard bottom bracket will work. So the other features we've got, again, we've got this knolled edge so that you get a much better bond, and we manufacture these in 2 sizes. So we manufacture, and you can probably see there's a slight height difference between these two. We manufacture this in a very standard 68mm, which is for your road bikes, gravel bikes, and so on. So that's compatible with, as I said, Shimano, SRAM components. And we now also manufacture this in a 73mm. And the reason why that's a little bit wider, it's designed around mountain bikes. So you imagine you've got a big old wheel and you want to fit that into your frame. The more space you can get around the bottom bracket, the better. So that's why we decided to manufacture this, because we just experienced when we're building a frame, that little bit of extra room meant that we could fit fatter and fatter tyres. And for those of you that know the mountain bike sector, bigger tyres have really started to play a key role, and we've had plus sizes and everything else. So that's why we specially manufactured this. But our standard is our 68mm. So there are bottom brackets. The other feature we have on these, so if you're building your kit at home, is we have a line that runs all the way around, so that when you pick it up, you know that the line or the marking all the way around is the drive side. So it allows you to position it correctly on the frame when you're building at home. If we didn't put a mark on, it's really difficult to know the different threads and which side faces which. So if you're just joining us, I'm talking all about metal inserts. So these are parts that we manufacture for bamboo frames. So I've talked about the head tubes, and I've shown 2 head tubes here and here. So we've got one there and one there that would go at the front of the frame. I've then talked about the bottom bracket here, which fits at the bottom of the frame. And the other ones that we manufacture, which I'll just run and get now, is a short seat sleeve. So we manufacture this in a 27.2mm, and we are also in the process of making this in a 31.6. So that would be for mountain bikes and so on. So if you've got any questions, let me know. I've got my phone here so I can see any questions, so do ask. And as I said, if you watch this afterwards, feel free to add a comment, and we'll get back to you on any questions. So the final one is our seat sleeve, and that's got a slot in so that it will compress over your seat post. And that's designed as a 27.2, and that's got a 30mm clamp, and that will fit inside of the bamboo and will fit into the seat sleeve there. The final things we do is we make dropouts. So we've done whole workshops on dropouts. So if you want to learn more about our dropouts and how they work and so on, I would recommend having a look at that video, but I'll roughly explain these. So we have a serrated edge here, which allows for the bamboo to clamp firmly around it. And then the beauty of using, again, the metal is that we can get all the tolerance for disc fitting, mud guards and so on. So those can all fit onto the metal, which is quite tricky again with bamboo, due to the tolerances and how it behaves if you try and put a thread in and everything else. So we've also got our dropouts, which go to the rear of the frame. So those are all the metal inserts. The final stage I'm just going to talk about very briefly is that when you're building and you're really excited and you've got your beer flowing and you're making a mess and there's sawdust everywhere, all those things are basically contaminants. So they will get onto the surface of the metal, they'll get onto the surface of the bamboo. And what they will do is they will not help the metal, the bamboo, and all the flax and everything else to join well together. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about surface preparation. And this is, again, really important to get longevity out of your frame, okay? So obviously I've spoken about the knolled finish. So that's really going to help bonding your metal inserts to your frame. But the other thing to consider is, as I mentioned, if you've got beer, you've got other things on the go, if you've got sweat on your hands, if you've got oil, whatever you've got, when you touch something, you're putting a contamination on, and that's gonna make everything dirty. And then when you try and bond, those contaminations can affect the bond between the bamboo, flax, and the metal inserts. So when you've finished your frame and you're about to glue everything up and you're about to tack it together, I would advise putting some gloves on, so some plastic gloves, because immediately when you put some gloves on, you remove the contaminants from your hands from touching the metal. So pop some gloves on. Okay. And what you need is you need some sort of thinner or alcohol which will lift any dirt off the metals, okay? So I've got some alcohol here, okay? And if you watch our online tutorials, I kind of talk through this process when you're doing our carbon lug kit about cleaning everything and so on. I've got an old rag here, okay? And I'm sure everyone's got an old rag hanging around, okay? And they're like, oh, great, I've got an old rag. I'm going to use this on my bicycle. Get rid of the old rag, okay? Get rid of it, all right? Don't use it. If you use an old rag, there's all sorts of contaminants. There's cloth that's going to come off. There's potential dust. There's glues, whatever else is on that rag are going to go onto your metal. So don't use an old rag. What you ideally want is some tissue paper, okay? Like so. If you've got some kitchen roll or something like that, that's going to be better because we're going to lose any contaminants. And then simply what you want to do is open your solution. So I've got some alcohol, isopropylene there. You can get that anywhere, or you can use acetone is even better if you can get hold of that. Okay. So the first thing to do is just damp through your alcohol and then just clean this off thoroughly, okay? You can even see some of the dirt coming off. And just give this a really, really good clean. So just lifting all the grease off and so on. Okay. And that's just cleaning that thoroughly. And you want to do that to the bottom bracket and all the other parts that you're going to bond, okay? So just cleaning that. The next stage you want to do is get rid of that soaked piece of paper and get a new piece. And then just dry off any solvents or any bits of paper that are left on. Okay. And just clean that off. And then obviously you can fit those back into your jig parts. Keep your gloves on, okay? Don't touch this. Once you clean this thoroughly, don't touch it with your hands because you might, you know, as I said, have a sip of beer, whatever you're doing, however you're working, you've got contaminants on your hand. You might not realise it. Well, some of us now with the COVID crisis might realise how deadly your hands are. But you want to try and keep your hands away once you've cleaned everything. Position it back in, tack the frame together, and then you're ready to bond it. And just keep your gloves on for that process, okay? And if you're unsure, give everything a clean again before you bond. And that's going to really, really help to bond in your metal inserts. So for more details on what comes in the kit and the metal inserts, do visit our website. The final thing I'm just going to mention is for our carbon lugged kit, which is our bottom bracket, we only use one metal insert, which is this piece of aluminium in here. And as I said, it's again a threaded bottom bracket. Easiest, simplest type of bottom bracket to fit, and again that will fit in, okay? But the beauty of the carbon kit, you won't have any metal inserts to repair. It's all set up for you, but you will need to clean the inside of whatever you're working on to reduce any contamination in there. Okay, so if you've enjoyed this, please subscribe and please join us for the next week where we'll be doing another workshop Wednesday. There's loads of other videos on our YouTube, so feel free to tune in and check out our other tutorials. And also we've got some tutorials of the kit We've also got some wild riding, so there's some BMX videos and so on, so check those out. Thank you ever so much for joining. I really appreciate your time. And as I said, if you've got any comments, any advice for us that you'd like to hear more about, please add a comment to the end. And thanks again. As I said, thanks for joining, and bye for now.